The Business Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment. This is where we address the business topics that matter. Here's your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning, Cayman Islands. Welcome to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. And in this session of the Business Buzz, I'm going to tell you for about a year now, maybe just over a little year, I've had so many people in my ear saying, do you know Mirabelle? Have you met Mirabelle? You've got to speak to Mirabelle. You know, Mirabelle says that exact same thing to me. And I'm like, who is Mirabelle? And then I began to understand who she was, and she's been on Business Buzz before and on Talk Today before, but I've never had an encounter with her. I've never met her as she's come to Radio Cayman. So many of my friends, acquaintances that I know, go to Mirabelle and seek some of her services. So she's almost like this enigma to me. And I've been waiting to meet this lady. So I'm very, very happy to say that in studio with me this morning, I do have Mirabelle de Cunha. She's in Intergrative Wellness. She's the founder of Mirabelle de Cunha Intergrative Wellness. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief background on Mirabelle before I fully welcome her to the show right here. So I did say she's the founder of Intergrative Wellness. She's a wellness and resilience coach who offers programs on neuroscience, breathing, and lifestyle changes to boost energy and efficiency. She's a certified heart math trainer, resilience. Ooh, there's something I can't read here. She's done resilience program training with top organizations like NASA and Mayo Clinic. Her integrative wellness solutions include evidence-based breathing, yoga, and trauma protocols. Mirabelle has taught globally, including in NYC, New York City, Chicago, Canada, and Cayman. She blends practical science and extensive expertise, making people comfortable with the uncomfortable, fostering authenticity and courage. Her work is rooted in practicality, logic, and compassion. Good morning, Mirabelle, and welcome to the Business Buzz.
Good morning, Kathy, and thank you for all that warmth and enthusiasm in your voice on this beautiful rainy morning.
No problem. I got to ask you to just move that mic a little closer to you there. Yeah. All right. It is great to have you. And as I said when I was introducing you, so many people have said, do you know Mirabelle? Have you heard of her? Have you spoke to her? And you've always just been this person in my mind. I know I'm going to meet her. And so here we are now, and I'm quite excited because anything that I've seen or heard about you has been super positive, absolutely brilliant things, great experiences that people have when they've sought you out for certain services that you offer. So in saying that, I'm going to allow you to tell us a little bit about who you are, the work that you do, and the services that you offer.
Yeah. So who I am, I'm still figuring that out. But I do know that I enjoy playing. And for me, work is that kind of play. Okay. It's an extension of discovery, of when a person comes in front of me, this urge to connect with them and to find that if they have anxiety, I've had anxiety before. If they've had self-doubt, I've had it before. Maybe just 5 seconds before they met me, So it's that place where I get to play and meet myself in different forms in people. And I absolutely love that. I love the connection. I love the aha moments that we can share together and the way that we inspire each other to grow through whatever we are working on or working within. Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, that's me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What else do you want to know?
I like how you said you're still getting to know who you are, because I feel like that's a lifelong journey, that we're always going to keep discovering little parts of ourselves, understanding ourselves a little bit more. And the more we understand ourselves, I believe, the more of ourselves we learn to love.
Yes.
And then therefore, in return, the more love and care and compassion we have to give going forward in whatever relationships we make.
Absolutely. So. And, just to speak a little bit to what you just said, it was very important for me to define who I was. I'm not even 5 feet tall. So
we're fun-sized.
So, early in my life, that was a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So defining myself by my achievements was a very big thing. Um, it didn't get me very far because always there was that feeling of, but what more? So that I can be enough, stay enough, be better, grow. Like everything was to be more, do more, see more, give more. And that really took me inward. And now it's more about who am I without the story of all the things that I've been through and all the achievements that are part of my life. Not dismiss them, but to recognize them, but not give them so much importance because that limits me. The biggest problem of that is being limited by who you think you are or who you other people think you are, and you've got to live up to that perception of what other people think you are. It's a perception. You can never know what anybody thinks of
That's
you.
true.
And even if you tell me, Kathy, right now this is what I think of you, Mirabelle, it's subject to change in the next 10 seconds. So there is no whole truth to that, right? But we hold on to those images so strongly, and that's what limits us. So that is my endeavor every day, to hold on to who I think I am lightly so that I can play a little more.
Oh, I like that. That's lovely. A little bit about the services that you do, because integrative wellness, I'm not so familiar with that term. What is that? What does that really mean?
Yeah, so integrative is the bringing together of parts that are the whole, right? When we look at wellness and how it's sort of conventionally looked at, there are these certain check boxes, like relaxation, yoga, juice fast, healthy food, some kind of like activity around that, or maybe even some mental health, into wellness. But wellness is a whole systems experience. It's an experience of the whole individual body, mind, and spirit. And we don't look at wellness like that. We look like checkbox, I exercised. Checkbox, I ate healthy. What is the experience of wellness? Those are things that can invite an experience of wellness. But the experience of wellness is a felt sense that you feel like this vibe, as my almost 13-year-old would say, it's the vibe, mom, right?
Yes.
You can't argue with that. When they say it, like, so what's the vibe of wellness within you? What does it feel like? And integrative is taking all those separate things. So for example, let me give you a very practical example. I had a client that came to me because her cardiologist said, she had some heart issues and blood pressure, and he worked with her and gave her medication, and then he said, no, I can't help you anymore. And she said, I want to be on this medication for the rest of my life. At the same time, she was seeing a therapist because, she was processing some things. And then she had all kinds of pains in her neck and shoulder, and she was seeing physio for that. And she was seeing a nutritionist just for just to be able to eat healthier.
Right.
None of these individuals are talking to each other. And none of them are asking, for example, the cardiologist might be, you seem to have a lot of stress. Yes, I have a lot of stress. You should see a therapist, right? Yes, I see a therapist. Okay, that's good. Keep doing that. Nothing wrong with it. I have no judgment for any of these. But when a person comes to me, it's very obvious that the state of the mind reflects the state of the nervous system. The state of the nervous system has a direct correlation with heart rate variability and blood pressure and all of that. The kind of food choices you make when you're stressed are based on your nervous system, what state it is in, right? Because we don't always eat for hunger. We eat for comfort. We eat for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with food as a nourishing, nutritional factor at all. So I'm going to ask about all of these things. What's your sleep like? People are going to do sleep studies, and that's great. But all of these things are correlated, because if you haven't resolved, you've had a bad day, say you've got beef with somebody today, and it isn't sorted out, and you try to go to bed at night, it's harder to fall asleep, isn't it? So it
can be.
It can be.
Depends how much space you allow it to take in your
mind.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it might be an issue that you can't breathe properly and you have apnea, that's why you can't sleep, but it could also be something else. And so in integrative wellness, we check in on the whole spectrum, from the physiology, the nervous system, the hormonal system, then to the relationship with the mind, what thoughts are present, what loops and patterns are present, self-beliefs, limiting beliefs, how they show up in day-to-day life, breathing to monitor and shift your physiology, because we know, most of us know, I should stop thinking like that. I should really not eat those fries. We know it, but we're not able to stop ourselves because we're coming from the mind, not from understanding how the system works. This is a biological system. And if we understand how the system works, we know how to hack it. So, in a nutshell, that's what integrative wellness is, taking care of the whole person, their intention. Like, why are you here? Oh, I don't want to have blood pressure. Why? Because I don't want to take medication. Why? Because I want to feel better. Why? Because I want to feel. What do you really want to feel? What's feel better for you?
Okay, so that's how you're trying to break it down with them.
Break it down to the absolute essence. I want to feel better so I can enjoy time with my grandchildren.
Okay.
Because that makes me feel content. There's always a feeling. We're not chasing a goal. The goal is an expression of the feeling that we're chasing.
So much of us, or so many of us, are taught to have this emotional regulation, right? To never show any emotions, especially in a professional setting in work. Don't become loud and disruptive, shouting at people, don't cry, anything like that, right? And my bosses will tell you there are moments that I'm in there bawling my eyes out. I don't have a problem with it. I literally don't. It's just, this is truly how I'm feeling in expressing myself in that, right? I'm trying not to do the yelling thing, but how I'm feeling the opposite of that, I don't have a problem with that. But then I feel like there's so much, I don't know if you want to say it's literature out there, noise out there, just a voice out there saying, you absolutely can't do that. There's just you have to super regulate your emotions. And I guess, what is the balance of doing that? And then also the balance of going through our emotions and processing that the best way for us to keep going forward, so as not to please what somebody else says.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean, because a lot of my clients are C-suite professionals, right? They've got a big role. People are always watching them, and they need tools and techniques to empower them to be able to manage exactly what you're saying. So speaking to the first thing, we're taught that certain emotions are good or bad.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, crying. You're a crybaby.
For instance,
Men don't cry. Anything
exactly,
like that. Yeah.
Exactly. All of those things. That's because we come to emotions from a space of conditioning that is based on good and bad. Good and bad are perceptions. They're not biology. Right? For the body, emotions are nothing but a neurochemical cocktail.
Okay.
When your nervous system responds in a certain way with an electrical charge, and your hormonal system responds, for example, in a highly stressful situation, there might be the activation of the HPA axis, which will cause excessive cortisol to be present in the body. And that cortisol it can present in many different ways, but essentially you're feeling this hyper arousal of your nervous system. Because of that neurochemical cocktail, all the feel-good neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, anandamide, oxytocin, are not being produced. They've been inhibited. Therefore, you feel like this sluggishness or this ennui or whatever it is, that, feeling sad or down or whatever. And you label it as sadness, depression, whatever. We use that's a linguistic label based on a language we agree on. Nothing wrong with using that. But the science is that it's a neurochemical cocktail. How can I shift that? When we understand the science, Kathy, this was so life-changing for me, and I know it is for my clients too. When we understand the science, it's not so personal. Mirabelle, you shouldn't be so upset all the time. You need to do better. You see how you put pressure on yourself, and then you increase the stress on yourself trying to be positive.
Right.
But when you understand the science, like, okay, I can notice that my nervous system is hyper-aroused. I notice that there is a propensity towards yelling or crying or whatever. At this time, I'm at work. in the middle of a meeting and that's not the first order of business. What can I do now? I can regulate my breathing in the moment. As I'm talking to you right now, Kathy, I'm slowing down my breath.
You are, yes.
Right? So as you're having a conversation, you can regulate your breathing.
Okay.
So that it takes care of that supercharge that's present that wants to explode or implode or however it feels for you in your body.
Okay.
So you take care of it in the moment, you tend to your business, but when you have time, you need to make it priority to go back because your body keeps score of everything. And there's a great book by that name that everybody should read by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps Score. It's talking about something that my background is essentially in yoga and Ayurveda, which I just want to clarify are not this Western idea of stretching and doing like circus acrobatics and Lululemon, though I love Lululemon and I like doing some of the circus acrobatics. But it's a way of life in alignment with the laws of energy that are timeless, which are in any energetic or spiritual tradition, as it was the beginning and now ever shall be, because those are the laws of energy.
Okay. I hate to say we gotta go to a commercial break, but I don't know how I missed the first one by 5 minutes. So we gotta go to a commercial break right now, and then when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Okay.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
When it comes to keeping the office spotless, we rely on JGP Janitorial. With over 20 years of experience in office and business cleaning, they understand what it takes to maintain a professional environment.
Reliable, efficient, and priced right. GJP Janitorial is the smart choice for any business. For a free quote, call GJP Janitorial 548-1221. GJP Janitorial. Lose the mop. They'll clean the slop. That's 548-1221. Keep your business shining.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and in studio with me this morning, I'm speaking with Mirabelle de Cunha. She is an integrative wellness, I'm going to say, super expert because of all the people, not all the people I know, but a great majority of friends that I have gone to Mirabelle for some of her services. So I know that she's super good at what she does because the feedback has been absolutely tremendous. So to go back to the points that you were saying with the neuro kind of, the cocktail. What did you call it? The neurological cocktail?
The neurochemical cocktail.
Neurochemical
right?
cocktail,
So
okay.
that's what emotions are.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah, interesting.
And if you think of it in that way, emotions are energy. Okay. Emotion, energy in motion.
Yes. Yeah.
We need to really listen to this and reframe, because everything in your mind, if you're listening, probably is going, yeah, so, but I still feel lousy, or I still feel whatever. And that's a journey, and I'll come to that, right? When we reframe, and these studies have shown, I think this was at Stanford, they showed that when you reframe your perception, particularly about stress, it reduces the stress you experience by 26%. This was a study they did with UBA employees over a period of time. 26% is very statistically significant amount. Just reframing, and instead of being like, oh, stress, I got to cope with it. Oh, stress, like this big duppy in the room.
Right.
How can we reframe, right? So it's that neurochemical cocktail that you're experiencing in your body. There's comfort or discomfort, and then we put a label to it. Where is the comfort or discomfort experienced in the body? If the discomfort is too much, a part of the brain called the insular cortex will shut down. This is in extreme trauma cases. Sometimes it briefly shuts down even when, you're too overwhelmed. You're like, listen, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with anything right now. No stimulation. I need nothing, right? So that part of your brain helps you feel your biofeedback. Right now, as we're talking, there's biofeedback happening. You can feel how you're receiving this. You can feel the air conditioning. You can feel your heart rate. The more we train ourselves to feel that, the more we are able to be on it. We're able to respond live in the moment to what our body's need is. What we usually do is, this is my workplace. I can show emotion. So I'm just going to suck it up and deal with it. And then you go home, and then you feel not so good. You're like, I don't want to think about this. I'm just going to binge on Emily in Paris or Bridgerton or whatever it is.
Right, go for
with
some
a tub
drinks,
of ice cream. Right?
whatever, right? Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It could be anything. Or I'm just going to go to the gym and work out like a beast so that I just get exhausted and go to sleep. It's different for different people. So that neurochemical cocktail, that charge that was present at the time of stress in your body, you didn't allow yourself to feel it properly because you couldn't at that time, right? At that time, the first order of business, the most helpful thing to do is to regulate your breathing. Yet, that energy charge is held in your system. That charge needs to be discharged, and this is part of the neuroscience of stress cycles. When you go back to that incident, you can, in your mind, go back to an incident, and your body will remember what it felt like. Just like, do you like chocolate, Kathy?
Way too much.
Okay. So if I say, think of the time when you had the best chocolate, right? And you can start, I'm already starting to salivate because your body remembers what it tasted like. It's not here right now. We're not having chocolate right now. No. But there's a memory that the body has of chocolate. And, it's a phenomenal thing, but it's not life-altering, though it can be, So your body remembers. So you can go back to the experience. And as you think about it, with the intention to let your body experience that again.
Okay.
Not remember the story. Most of the times we go to remember the story, then we repeat the story, and then 20 years later we're still repeating the same story of remember when that person was blah, blah, blah.
So what is wrong with repeating the story? I don't know if I misunderstood you.
No. Good. Okay. Please ask. There's nothing wrong with repeating the story, but if we're holding on to something for a long time, it means we haven't processed it.
Oh, so me with my past athletic glories. I can't live in the past with that.
You can enjoy the story. I'm sharing stories with you now,
yes,
right?
Yes.
I will share personal stories. But there's a purpose with which I'm sharing it. I'm not sharing it because I want you to know how amazing I am or whatever, Yes, but not
I already know.
all of it. Or whatever, So there's no very strong personal investment in it. The charge is not strong. If you see, when we share stories, particularly ones that were uncomfortable, when people are talking, you'll see that their throat starts to choke, or they have trouble swallowing, or their jaw tightens, or their facial expression changes.
I don't notice these things.
Start watching.
Okay.
You'll notice.
Okay, interesting.
Right? You'll notice these physiological symptoms. And that's because that experience is still carrying a strong charge.
Okay.
Right? If I'm telling the story, and in the story I'm either blaming myself or blaming somebody else or defending myself, or I'm in victim or in like, I got this, like I made sure that, I took care of that for everybody. There's a strong charge still.
So
there's an ownership of that.
I find this interesting, that the charge, how you're describing it, because I think a lot of us we can visualize this, what it looks like in a person, or what it feels like. And so if we have this charge that we haven't figured out how to process right when we're feeling it, and that charge stays in us, and then we go home, and as you said, we might go to the gym, we might binge on Netflix and ice cream, or might have some drinks. There can be a bit of a danger to that, because it's we haven't dealt with that right then and there, and it's almost like we're trying to bottle it up and take care of it in some other habit that might not be the best way for us.
Yeah.
And then what's our behavior like to family or friends that we have to deal with when we're going home, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the other way to look at it, is if we don't take care of that charge.
Exactly, because like you said, we bottle it up, and it's a coping mechanism. But in neuroscience and in stress cycles, we call that a maladaptive coping mechanism, right? It's maladaptive because you're using it to soothe, to not feel like it's soothe. Like, okay, let me give you a very practical example. Baby is hungry. It wants milk. You don't want to breastfeed in public, or like whatever it is. Like you stick a pacifier. Baby stops crying, but baby is still hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because its hunger has not been met.
Right. You just kind of plug
it. That's
a little Band-Aid over something.
Exactly. That's what maladaptive coping is like. And a lot of us do it all the time.
How do we... I don't know if we have to go to a commercial break. Susan, we got to go to commercial break next, or are we marrying the commercials? We're going to go to a break. Okay, because I got a question coming with that, what you just said on the way back from our commercial break.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future,
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
When it comes to keeping the office spotless, we rely on JGP Janitorial. With over 20 years of experience in office and business cleaning, they understand what it takes to maintain a professional environment.
Reliable, efficient, and priced right. GJP Janitorial is the smart choice for any business. For a free quote, call GJP Janitorial 548-1221. GJP Janitorial. Lose the mop. They'll clean the slop. That's 548-1221. Keep your business shining.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Radio Cayman News.
An increase in shower activity is expected for the Cayman Islands.
If you are living in a flood-prone area, please ensure you prepare accordingly.
Is a flood advisory due to the potential impact of a developing weather system.
We continue to monitor the situation closely.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
We're back on the Business Buzz, and I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and we're in studio with Mirabelle Cunha. We were talking about, right before we went, it was about when you might be at work or doing something in your day, and you're going through an experience, and it might trigger you, it might make you a little emotional or have an outburst or something, and you might not know how to process that in the moment. And sometimes we can really bottle it up inside, and it's that charge that you were talking about, Mirabelle, that there's still that charge within us, and we kind of we're trying to release that somehow throughout our day. We might go home and might not have the most favorable habits for us. So when we know that we're in a moment that might be triggering us to come out of our normal behavior state, is there anything we can do to kind of ground us again and help kind of take care of that charge before it starts to really build?
Absolutely. I'll take it a step back.
Okay.
Right? This is a question I often ask in a lot of corporate training, and I say, how do you take your nervous system to the gym every day?
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, so, like you go to the gym, right, Kathy, to exercise for your body.
More in my mind, but I do.
So you're training yourself to be healthy, right, to get muscle strength, like whatever you're doing, you're gymming for. Without doing the training, you're not going to get the results.
Correct.
How are you training for those moments that are going to happen every day where you're going to go off balance?
Ooh, I like that.
That's what I mean. How, if you take your body to the gym so that you can be healthy, the first thing you need to do is take care of your nervous system. Because anything that you say or do that you regret later or that you feel uncomfortable with or all of that is because of one thing. Your nervous system was not regulated.
So how do we take care of our nervous system?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very short answer for that, but it's simple, but it's not simplistic. In terms of the question that you asked me, it's learning how to regulate the nervous system. And the fastest and the simplest and the free way to do it, because I'm all about free. If it's free, why invest time and money in something that you can do yourself, right? Get the skill, practice it, and that's it. Is to change your breathing. Make it slow, low. Make sure you're breathing from the belly, so slow and low. And the neuroscience is 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. That helps you regulate your nervous system for a period of time. So if you're hyper aroused, you're like furious, you're angry, you're like on fire, it will take you 15 minutes of that breathing. Or sometimes it's different for each person, right? I might say, okay, what I want you to do when that happens is do this tense and release and then do the breathing. Because if you're fuming, you can't sit and breathe. You're just like, oh my God, I just need to kill somebody. I can't sit and breathe here. So it's not a one-shot answer, which is why people come to work with us, right? Because we have to see who the person is, what's happening, what's their general pattern. So once you go for a run and then start regulating your breathing. When you've kind of vented a little bit of that charge out, you can actually sit and breathe, or you can breathe while run. From running, start walking now and pacing yourself. So with each step, you're taking an inhale and exhale instead of
right.
So it's different for different people, but you've got to train before. If you're gonna run a marathon by reading a book on how to run a marathon and show up and expect to run the marathon, it's not gonna work. Correct? Yes. What most people do is saying, oh, I know that I should take deep breaths. I had all this happen. I took deep breaths, but it didn't work. Why should it work? I said to a client literally yesterday afternoon, she said, I did all my practices this morning. She's not seeing me regularly now, but she's, she hasn't been keeping her practices because I do them every day. There is no, you just have to do them every day. You have to eat every day.
Repetition is the mother of skill. One of my favorite things. Exactly.
And in neuroscience, we'd say, and in yoga, we'd say, nerves that fire together, wire together, right? So she said, I did all that. I felt a little better. But then this happened. I got triggered again. Why is it not working? So I said to her, have you been doing this every day? She said, no. So I said, think about it. You put $50 in your bank account this morning, and by this afternoon, you expect it to be $100,000. How's that going to work? Tell me, is that logically possible?
Right.
These practices, doing breathing practices, which are neutral, doesn't matter what your belief system is, it works for everybody, is like creating a corpus. You create an energy that you can then access at any time in your energy bank account. You have proficiency and efficiency from practice. So that's the first order of business, having a steady, regular practice. Then, when you're having this stressful experience, it's faster. It's like, back in the day, we still have some tube lights, right? When the
terrible lighting, and trust me, terrible. Yes, we have
But
them.
when you turn this, and the tube light was kind of going to go off, like it was going to conk off, and then go like, shake, and then it comes on. So if you don't practice your nervous system regulation every day, and you try to do it in a stressful time, it's going to be like that. You're like, come on. And then you get more stressed because it's not working. But if you practice it, that switch turns on really fast. And you're able to switch into regulation much faster. So long and short.
Because you're trained for it.
You're trained for it. Are you taking your nervous system to the gym every day?
Okay.
And then in that moment, you can use the breathing. I'll say one last thing that, it's not breathing related, but for example, and this is very common for women more than men, I really shouldn't get triggered by this. Like, I shouldn't react. I shouldn't show my emotions. All of these things.
Why are the women saying that more so to you?
Because we're trying to fit into a patriarchal office world, a system that does not make space for humanity. It puts productivity and profit at the top of everything, and there's not space for being human. And I'm talking about women, but I have so many male clients.
Right.
And as they start to do the work, they'll come in and we'll do heart math, we'll do biometrics, we'll do all the stuff that, will get their male brain sort of going. And then we start to go a little deeper. And then things come up, and men experience anxiety in different ways from women. They don't call it anxiety, but they do experience it. And then, we sort of go from there. But when you're feeling, and I said this yesterday, I was teaching an online session for a audit firm across the Caribbean. And one of the questions I asked is, what has come into the room with you? Because at every time, whether it's a Zoom room or a real room, something is coming into the room with you. And you don't have to say that it's, I'm excited about this program or, whatever. It could be like, I just had a completely day. Or, I'm going through a divorce. Be human. And then instead of judging yourself for, I need to be more positive, just think, how human of me. How human of me to get angry. How human of me to cry. How human of me to feel hurt that my opinion was not valued in this meeting. And that allows you to have connection with yourself.
It's giving grace.
Yes.
Which is something you'll often hear me say on the Business Buzz, depending on the topic of conversation. But one of the things that I had learned in therapy, I was telling you about university studies. I was telling you during a break that my mind was so, it was very negative, and it was saying, no, I can't do this. I can't finish this project. I can't meet this deadline. I had one hand to work with, which was my non-dominant hand. It was really difficult for me. And my therapist then said, you have to give look at all the things you're doing. Why are you being so hard on yourself? You have to learn to give yourself grace. And that was like the most beautiful thing, because now I just float around and I'll say to everybody, just give yourself some grace, right?
Yeah,
and I think it's a beautiful thing. But it's that part of that conditioning. Why are we so hard on ourselves? Who put this voice in our heads to, as you said earlier in our discussion, when we're coming to work, I can't react this way. I can't, I need to be prim and proper and super professional and show no personality kind of thing. Why? Who's putting this kind of conditioning in us? And why do we talk down on ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, there can be many reasons for that. But one thing I'll say is question all your conditioning. Question all your conditioning all the time.
But what if it's from your parents?
So why do you need to be loyal to that? And it usually is from your parents. And this comes up when we do co-meditation. Co-meditation is a process in which we go into, like you said, all this, the charge that's in the system that you haven't processed. Usually when people come to see me, they've already been seeing a therapist. They might have done hypnotherapy. They might be on melatonin or antidepressants. So I'm seeing people after they've done a lot of stuff already. And we do this particular process called co-meditation, which is going into these the charge in the body of the unprocessed experience. And usually when we go back, we track back, it might be like so-and-so said this to me or whatever. And then we ask the body to take us back to the time when we first experienced that that charge, that particular quality of sensation.
Ooh,
and usually it will go back to primary caregivers. And the power of this work of yoga and Ayurveda and this integrative wellness is that it's not about blaming. Because my parents were doing the best that they could in the circumstances that they had.
Right, with the knowledge and tools
that they had, just as I am. And God knows, as a parent, I'm messing up too. Right? But it's part of design. It's part of the design. If you have the big picture, it's part of the design. Because if that discomfort didn't happen, you might not have challenged yourself to shift your thinking in that experience, Kathy.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So you had a choice at that time. Someone made you aware that you had a choice. And then what you did with that awareness is your responsibility.
I just tried a different method.
Exactly.
And saw how great of a positive impact it had, and I kept with it.
Yeah.
And it's there's a momentum of thought that you can have, and if you let things build, I've learned from previous, like those Abraham Hicks lessons that I'll listen to, that the best way I can describe it is you have a car at the very top of the hill, and let's say it comes out of park, and it starts rolling down that hill. You can stop that car at the very top and think of the car as thoughts. So you start to have a thought, and then the thought builds, and another thought. You can stop that at the very, very top of the hill before it gains momentum. So you stop thoughts earlier, as opposed to way later on in the day or whatever it is, and there's just, it's gained so much momentum, and it almost kind of runs you over.
Yeah, and to stop the thoughts, what we want to cultivate is awareness. Because these loops are just going on every day. There's a commentary going on, right? And usually it's pretty much just the stories, that situations change, but it's like, what chair are you sitting in?
Yeah, the familiarity.
What's your stance? It's kind of that. So awareness is noticing, I'm falling into this perception that if I don't work hard enough, I cannot be happy. This was conditioning I had, right? I mean, I grew up in Bay, India. It's the financial capital, it's the entertainment capital. It's like New York and LA put together. It's brutal, but it's beautiful at the same time. So, and in a population like India, and everybody geek. So, you're acing everything and you're still not acing it. It's like that,
the competition is high.
It's very high. As a child, you feel it, and you're not in that culture, and I love it. So, I'm not dissing it, but I had to break out of it. You're only as enough as the grades you have or the position and job you have. That's it. Like, nothing else matters. No one really cares about, how you are. It's what is your worth? It's not net worth, but it's what's your educational worth?
Yeah.
What's your societal worth? So I had to break out of that. I mean, I'm not doing anything conventional.
No.
When I started out, I definitely wasn't earning the way that I am now. So I had to break out of that conditioning where I kept believing worth was only based on how much I achieved.
Okay.
I had to question that. And it was important for those early years for me to have that, because it gave me a head start. It made me, learn so much and grow so much. But there's a point when it doesn't serve you anymore.
I feel you on that last note. A great way for us to end this segment here, and I wish we could go into so much more, because this conversation is great and it can get just even greater, but the time, and I have to end it on that note, so I'm so sorry, Mirabelle.
It's all good.
But I love that. Yeah, it was definitely great to have you. You said a lot of great things, very interesting things, a lot more. Hopefully we can have you in soon again, because I know our conversation can go in so many positive directions, and there's so many great things that we can learn and share with people who we're all going through different life experiences, and we can all gain a better kind of perspective to kind of frame things through. So if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about how they can navigate your services and what to do, how do they get a hold of you?
So I'm my website, it's mirabellecunha.com. And then I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn with the same handle, mirabelle.decunha.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a good way. I send out free newsletters, which are not selling things more often than not. They're blogs and things like we're talking about, or recorded meditations. So that's another good way to engage and, learn a little more about yourself by exploring content that you might not find that kind of perspective in conventional spaces.
I love it. I think it's amazing and a great thing for us to talk about and to keep talking about it, because wellness is something every single person needs, and we can't do without. So thank you for joining me this morning. It was great to meet you finally. And I know we'll be talking
Such
lots
a joy
more.
being here.
It's been great. Thank you. Everybody have a great day. And don't forget to check out the Small Business Expo today at Hotel Indigo.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice. And by JGP Janitorial. Lose the mop, they'll clean the slop. JGP Janitorial, 548-1221.